Hello, everybody.
Hello. Uh-oh.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Echo.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, and
Hello. Good afternoon.
How is everybody doing on this wonderful day?
awesome.
Great.
Doing great.
Is that Mr.
On fire down here in Florida.
I'm sorry, say that again?
This is Dominique. I said I'm on fire down here in Florida. It's hot.
I'm sure it is.
87 degrees right now.
87, wow. But, you know, there's no humidity in Florida, right? Never,
Oh, never any humidity.
never.
Ever. Ever, ever. I don't even bother putting on my foundation anymore.
Yeah. Gonna give it a minute here. Sure, everybody was a little overwhelmed with all the information from yesterday.
There's a lot of good information. Quite a bit, but good.
Yeah, and we know certain states are going to be more important than other states. You know, everybody has their own state that matters to them, or own few states that matter to them. We're working on compiling another date as well to hit all the states that we did not hit yesterday, and we're trying to make that happen early next week. We're just waiting to hear back from the powers to be on that.
Okay.
All right.
Picking up my son from school. Hello. Hey, baby. Bye-bye.
Is that a lollipop?
Yeah, it's a lollipop for you. You want to join the meeting?
Pops out to everyone.
Wish I had a lollipop.
You heard all that. I thought it was on mute.
Yeah.
Are you wearing a bulletproof vest? Oh my God. Oh my God. You're going to lose like 30 pounds.
I hope so. That's what I said. If it doesn't all mellow off, there's a problem.
For real.
Gabby, you're the host, I think, right?
Yeah.
All right. Could you just mute Dominique for a minute? Because I don't think she's muted now. Okay. All right. You're gonna share your screen, or you want me to?
Either way, doesn't matter.
All right, go for it.
All right. Hello again, everybody. It's great to meet you via Zoom if we haven't met already. My name is Anthony Rose. We're going to go through kind of an intro on who's who in a second. I just wanted to clarify for everyone who's on this call. The purpose of this is specific to telesales training. So if you're if you're coming on board to go out and be a field agent, you're more than welcome to sit through the training, but we don't know how valuable it's going to be for you because we're teaching specifically how to do the telesales portion for Centene. So that's super relevant. We kind of sat down right before the call when we saw the registrations for who was coming on the call and saw that there's a lot of, number one, there's a challenge right now with the reporting that's coming from the contracting department of WellCare, and that the challenge is that it's not accurate. So there's people missing from it. There's people that it's not updated. So I just want to remind everybody who's on here, though, I can't tell you who you are because, again, there's a challenge with this report, but you got to make sure that you get that agent contract done. After you get that contracting done, you should then get an invitation to start doing your certifications, get all of those certifications done so that we could, make sure that you're in the mix and the ball starts rolling. Nothing happens overnight with any of these companies. Any of you who have been in the business know that already. So we need to make sure we get rocking and rolling if you have not done what you were supposed to. Dominica may be reaching out to you in the next day or two to find out where you are at in the process and what you've done to make sure that what we're seeing on the reporting side, to make sure it all jives, I guess, is the key. Those of you who are field agents and are moving over to the teledigital side, remember, you're one side or the other. You can't be both teledigital and be a field agent. It's one side or the other. That's actually a CMS regulation. So we got to make sure that those of you that were field agents that have not been moved over, that we move you over there too. So you'll probably be getting a follow-up phone call or so to make sure all is good and all is set up. But just make sure you don't ignore any emails that you get from either Diversified or WellCare to make sure that you're moving that right process and get that contracting part done. Gabby, you can go to the next slide. Mike, I think you're going to go from here.
Yep. So I think based on the people that are on this call, I'm going to do this super fast since you just heard it yesterday. But basically, the way that we've broken down this telesales training is to try to look at it from the perspective of the sports team, if you will, or for a type of sport. There's the league, there's the game, there's the coaches, and then there's the players. And you can go to the next slide. So essentially, we have the league. It begins with this really strong relationship that we have between Diversified and Centene. This was forged about 4 years ago. We continue to work on it every day. And frankly, we were speaking with one of the regional members of Centene earlier this morning on a conference call. And we kind of said to him, look, if you had to come in here and put Centene on our door, we'd actually be okay with it because we're that connected and partnered with you guys in the way that we're working. I mean, it doesn't mean that we've lost any of the other carriers. We still do have your United and Anthem and Aetna, Humana, right? We have the other carriers, but what we're doing is really focusing on building relationship, not only with our carriers, but with our agents as well. And what it's done is it's forged opportunities that most other NMOs out there don't have. Specifically, 212,000 leads coming directly to Diversified October 1st. And that's only because we asked for that many. We could have gotten more, but we said that's the max that we want right now, and you could give us some more after that. They know we're not going to go out there and sell other carriers on those leads because they're their members. They know that by having us as a partner the way that we are, they can trust that we're as concerned about compliance as they are. We're working as hard as we can to keep that relationship strong and not let it just kind of break just because of, this other carrier came in our door and said, hey, how about this? So that's really been the secret sauce behind the opportunity that you're seeing in front of you right now, especially given the fact that Centene purchased WellCare last year. We all know that. But in the process of doing so, and now owning 5 different Medicare member carriers, they now have said, look, we know that we're the 6th largest Medicare Advantage company in the world, and we will be number 3, if not higher, within the year. So that's a perfect marriage for us to be sitting exactly where we are today, to be able to be supported, to have them right there for us whenever we need them, as well as be able to provide us with this very large amount of leads where we're just calling on people that already have a relationship with Centene. They understand that relationship, and what they want to do is kind of upgrade that plan so that they have more benefits. So that's the lead. As far as the coaches go, you've kind of, the game obviously is Medicare Advantage by phone. Anthony kind of got into that a little bit. You can only work on one side of the house. You can't do both. So if you really do want to stay in the field and have an access to the field, you can do that. You use the Ascend app in order to do that. The challenge that you'll have when you're selling on the Ascend app is, number one, you have to have that person sign the application somehow. They have to, whether it's through DocuSign or whether it's texted to them and then they receive it and they email it back, whatever the case may be, they have to use their signature to make that happen. And I don't know about you, but I know our clients, and our clients are not too fond of that type of behavior. So what we've been able to do is capitalize on the fact that as telesales agents, when COVID hit, we literally have an office here with, it's over 10,000 square feet, and it's dark out there right now. But CMS through Centene has approved us as being capable of being able to sell from this office space. So because of that, we've created, after COVID hit and shutting down everything, we went to Centene and said, guys, you've got to let our field agents be able to get back in the game. They're not able to make any money. And that's what's kind of forged this opportunity. After some pushback, they finally agreed. And now we're in a spot where you're connected via phone through to our system in a secure channel, so that when you're making a call, it's as though you're sitting here in our office. That opportunity has then created the abilities for us to call to different areas, and this continues to expand from there. So you go to the next slide. And we now go to the coaches. You'll see the Rose Boys, that's the four of us. Next one, sorry. It's basically, there's six members of our executive team. Gabby, you can switch it, I'm sorry. There's 6 members of this executive team. There's the Rose Boys. We kind of affectionately created this because in the business we started getting called the Rose Boys, so we kind of embraced it and started running away from it. We also have done some marketing that's attached to it. We have our founder, Mike Sr. You'll get to meet him in these different conference calls, as well as on Tuesday and Thursday nights, sharing nuggets of wisdom and asking the right questions. You have Anthony, who you had a chance to meet already, the president. You have Dan, Chief Operating Officer, and obviously we're going down in age. So you have Mike Sr., Anthony, Dan, and then myself.
Not very nice at all.
Wow, what an absolute jerk. I'm sorry, buddy. There's a lot of people I'm looking forward to meeting here. But if you're seeing the screen right now, you can see there's a distinct age difference between those two gentlemen on the right side of the screen. That ugly grizzly beard, and then the other gentleman in the Navy suit. That's just something right there.
I'm sure everybody else is, the reason why you turned your video off was thinking exactly the same thing, and that's why mine is, anyway, just kidding. Okay, fine, on the second. And then Dan deals, we kind of went into this, guys, yesterday. We're all your support mechanism. We're gonna be there for you no matter what. We also are graced with the opportunity to work with 3 individuals who have been with us in a cumulative fashion almost 60 years, basically about 60 years of history with Diversified between these 3 individuals, Jeff, Akram, and Nicole. Each one are as committed to your success as we are, and we're proud to be able to be a team that really does focus most on being able to make those who we're working with be successful. I think the best part of our year is always the end of January, when those gigantic checks are going out for bonuses and for the opportunity that somebody has worked really hard during AEP and now they're getting their reward. And I can speak to, on behalf of myself and the others, that the 7 of us really truly are committed to your success. As well as our admin team, which we have Jeanette Stovekin. She's responsible for your conservation, receiving apps, once they're submitted, making sure that they've been submitted properly, they're scrubbed correctly, and you've got a an app that's able to be paid. You have Domanique Culpepper, who's responsible for your licensing and contracting, will work with you in between Centene to make sure that you're all set to go. And I know based on the people that are on this call right now that there is some work to do. So you're not quite there yet, and you do need to make sure that you do spend some time with Dominica to get your licensing going, whether it's just getting switched over to Telesales or finalizing your certification, whatever the case may be. You do need to work with Dominica to get that done. Next, we have Gabby Duranco. Gabby's our social media director. She's clicking behind the screens right now. That's her, see her mouse. So she's responsible for she's probably your first person that you talk to within the organization. And we have Tracy DiMaggio, who is absolutely going to be working with you. If you're receiving appointments, she'll be the person that's dispatching and getting your schedule and kind of following through to make sure that you have those appointments. That's our team. So once this is completed, you're going to go to thediv.com/telesales. Thediv.com/telesales basically kind of lays out for you exactly all of these different steps in order to get your contracting going. And on the website, you can download a PDF which has all of our contact information so that you're not left out there trying to wonder how to get in touch with us. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so the question to ask yourself right now is, are you ready to work? The website lays this out, but this is kind of the steps that you need to make sure, if you haven't completed yet, you're very aware of, especially since we're going to be going into the weeds today to kind of detail out exactly what you have to do in order to sell with us. Don't get lost with the idea, don't get lost and forget that there's steps that have to be done before that. Step one, you have to be contracted with WellCare or Centene. You have to complete your AHIP certification. You have to complete your ACT, your ACT, which is your certification with WellCare or Centene. And then you'll get your ready to sell email. Once you receive your ready to sell email, you'll then be receiving your telesales login. I don't believe anyone on this call yet has that telesales login. So that's going to be the first step in order for you to be moved over. Basically, the way it generally works is that you're going to become an agent with Centene. You get contracted as a Centene agent, and then you're going to be flipped over to the telesales side. For the most part, some of you might not have to do it that way. Okay, next slide. This is a slide that in preparation for today, it's just easier to keep it in as opposed to removing it, because there are changes in our system constantly occurring. We're in the process of updating our technology so that we can dial these 212,000 people as fast as we possibly can without upsetting them. That's the key, because they are members. We don't want to disrespect them. We all know that we don't, none of us enjoy receiving phone calls from people. So we want to do it in a friendly way as possible as we use our appointment setters, and you start dialing away. That being, so with this understanding, just know that there is a transition that's being made right now. The phones that you see, we do have a kind of a layout where you have to use a computer. Every one of you will have to use your computer in order to do this, no matter what. The computer will be necessary. And then we'll have a headset that you can incorporate into that, and possibly a hard phone. We're kind of working through that part of it right now. Currently, we use Google Sheets to go through the details, but we're hoping that even that portion of it will speed up and we'll have some better opportunities for you. So just work with us here as we kind of make these final decisions over the next week, and we'll get back to you in terms of how those are going to play out. We'll spend plenty of time teaching that. So,
Okay. So we like to, first off, just out of curiosity and just to have everybody participate just a second, who has had experience selling over the phone before?
I have.
Don, you have. Okay.
I have.
Steven says he has. Jacqueline says she has.
Yeah, this is Jackie Altman. I have.
Okay, Jackie, great. Anybody else?
Yep, me too.
Jeff, you have.
I have. Rob
Cecil has. Rob, I think you just said you have. Okay. All right. This is great. Most of you have, which is great. I don't want you to forget anything. And Dominique says she has not. Great. All of you who have had experience, I don't want you to forget what's worked for you. I don't want you to forget the success that you've had. We want you to continue to use everything that you've been taught in the past. And now here comes the but word. But we want you to follow a system. We want you to follow a system that we know works. We know following these steps absolutely positively work. We know that if at the end of a presentation, you are able to sit down and look at these 10 steps, you'll be able to judge yourself on where you did good and where you need some work. And if you do follow all 10 of these steps, you're going to find your closing rate is substantially higher. So what we've done before we go into the script, and you know what, I should also preface this by saying the things that we're going to be showing you today, we're going to overwhelm you with, which is the reason why we broke it up into 2 different sessions. It's a lot of information that we're throwing out at you. It's a lot that quite often after we've done this, some agents have said, I'm a little nervous after seeing this because there seems like there's so many moving parts to it. And there is a bunch of moving parts to it. That's the way it's supposed to be. But it doesn't take long before you get it. It doesn't take long before all these moving parts and these steps start to become second nature to you. And you start writing 10, 12 applications a week and making money doing it. So it's okay if you get overwhelmed with all these different steps and everything that we're going to show you and get to today. The goal here today is to get through step 8. That's actually our goal for today, but we'll see how we're doing on time and so on and so forth. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do an introduction of who you are. You're going to build credibility, and we'll get into each individual section in a second, but I just wanted to run down what you can expect on a phone call. First thing you're going to do is an introduction. You need to introduce yourself and you need to build a little bit of credibility on your part. And the first way of doing that is flat out saying, I'm calling you either because WellCare has asked me to reach out to you. We are your current Part D prescription provider, and there's some benefits that you may be entitled to that you're not taking advantage of right now. So you're saying, I'm not a telemarketer. This isn't a cold phone call. I know you. You know my company. And as your Part D prescription provider, we want to help you. That's kind of your introduction on why you're calling. You're then going to go into some credibility questions of showing that you know what you're talking about by asking them questions like, I just want to confirm I have your address at. Those type of things help you build your credibility. At that point, there should be a little trust of them understanding that you're not just a telemarketer and that you're someone that has credibility and is trying to help them. And then you're going to go into your fact-finding questions. That's where you're going to start to find out what their situation is. What is it that they have? What's important to them? How is it that you can help them? The next part is saying, well, let me check if your doctors are there. Let me check on your prescriptions and kind of doing your back-end research there. And then you're going to tease them a little bit. You're going to take it away from them a little bit. You're going to say, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to be able to possibly give you X, Y, and Z, whether it's vision, whether it's dental, whether it's over-the-counter benefits. You're going to just kind of tease them a little bit with some of the things that are state-specific to them. And then you're going to take it away from them. Mrs. Jones, I know all of this sounds great, and I'm sure you'd love to get this, but I'm not sure if you are eligible for this. I'm not sure if we can get you these plans. Let me find out for you. And that's where you're going to call SPOC. Now, one of the things that is changing, it's actually happening right now, but we're just making sure this system works, is this new app that WellCare has where you can actually check their eligibility without calling anybody. As of right now, we have the agents doing both. We have them checking it on the app, and if it's not coming up, then we have them call SPOP anyway to confirm it. SPOP is the special populations line, which says that a person is LIS, which says that a person is on Medicaid and that they're dual eligible. It tells you which plans the person's eligible for based on the state-based systems that they're logging into and finding out. But before you're calling SPOP, again, number 5, teaser state specific. You're taking it away from them and saying, I just don't know if you qualify. You want it that they are in a position that they are really hoping you can come back on the line and give them some good news. If you do the first 5 steps correctly, after you call SPOP and you find out that a person is eligible, you should have it set up that you almost always get an enrollment at that point. And you haven't even done a full plan presentation yet. If you've done everything right in these steps, you're going to find that from a percentage that you end up getting the sale is very, very high. Again, as long as you do it right. If you don't do it right with your credibility up front and tease them a little bit and so on and so forth, and ask the right questions so you know that the plan you're putting them in is the right option for them, then it's not going to happen. But if you do all of those things right, you'll be able to go into your full plan presentation with the assumption that this is just an enrollment. Now, up until this point, you have a script. There's 2 scripts, and we will go into the scripts. That website that Mike Jr. gave out earlier is actually it's actually not going to wait till the end of the call. You're going to use that in a little while because we want you to pull the scripts up so that you can have the script in front of you. But there's 2 scripts that are filed with CMS. You're going to find that there's CMS numbers underneath the on the bottom page of every script. The first script is the sales script. That script does not have to be read verbatim. Certain parts do, but the entire script does not have to be read word for word. You just need to make sure that you're hitting every single category within that script. So when it gets to things of full plan presentation, which is number 7 here, there's not a script for a full plan presentation because we know there's hundreds and hundreds of plans, and you're presenting the proper plan for that county, for that person. But there's certain parts you need to make sure you hit. You need to make sure you hit the what the copays are, what their inpatient hospital copays are, what their copays for the Part D prescription portion will be. You need to make sure you hit all of those things. You don't have to do that for, it's not going to be scripted for you as far as what to say there. At the end of you making that full plan presentation, you're then going to ask them for the sale. We are on step 8, which is flat out, Mrs. Jones, would you like to enroll in this plan now? Now, Medicare requires that an enrollment is done on an inbound call only. So therefore, at that point, you need to give them your phone number, you need to hang up, and they need to call you back, of which you are then going to follow a script verbatim. When we first heard about this, we had a giant concern that we were going to have just spent 45 minutes to an hour with a person, and then they don't call us back. And we were wrong. Almost every single person has called back when we've gotten to this point. And we've done a lot of these at this point. And almost every single person has called back. Because if you've done everything right up to that point of you asking them for the sale, they're going to say yes, and they want this plan. Now, sometimes they may say, I need to just use the restroom before I call you back. But they call you back within a couple of minutes. At that point, when they call you back, you explain what is going to happen. This is part of the inbound script. You explain what is going to happen. You explain that you're going to be asking them some questions that you've asked them already. However, this is being done in a very formal manner now. The call is being recorded, and you need to go through all of these steps in order to get the enrollment done. You then do the full compliance script for the enrollment, And at the end of that script, and as you're doing this script, you're inputting in their information into the application. So you're taking their application and you're actually putting it right into the WellCare system. This makes the whole process go quicker because it's automatically being processed with CMS. So that's why there's a difference between a teledigital agent and a field agent. The teledigital agent is inside the actual system. They are actually putting things right inside the system. At the end of it, you're going to get a confirmation number. You're going to give them the confirmation number, and you're going to end the call. At the end of that, there's some administrative things that you need to do so we make sure that this application goes through and make sure that you get paid and so on and so forth. And we'll get to that. But we don't have that as one of the steps here, but we will get to that. It probably won't be today. Those are the 10 commandments of being successful here. If you take a shortcut, either you're never going to get enrollments, you're going to get less enrollments than everybody else, or you're going to get enrollments and those people are going to cancel and you're going to have complaints put against you. You don't want any of those things to happen. You just want to get as many enrollments that are compliant as you possibly can, doing the right thing for the client. Let's go to the next page. Now, Mike did throw into the chat the website, the div.com/telesales. If you go to that website, you scroll down, you will see under important resources, outbound script. And this is what we're going to go over, but I know you're going to ask for a copy of this as soon as we're done. So let's start with our introduction here. Our introduction is strictly, hello, my name is Anthony Rose. May I speak with Mrs. Jones? Hi, Mrs. Jones. This is Anthony Rose. I'm calling you on behalf of WellCare. We are your Part D prescription provider. Now, for the purposes of training today, we're going through you working the Part D leads, which I should probably explain those leads. We're going to do the training based on the Part D leads. Now, know that we spent a few $100,000 just dropping a mailing for BRC lead cards as well. So you're going to be getting some leads that are not just Part D prescription leads as well. But again, for the purposes of this training with the 212,000 leads that we're going to be working, that's why we're going this route. The only thing that will change later on is going to be your introduction. That's it. So it's, let me explain what the Part D prescription lead is for those of you that don't know. WellCare has had Part D only members in all states. They haven't had an MAPD in all states, but they've had Part D in all states. They have one of the strongest Part D plans out there. And because of it, they receive a bunch of people that only enroll in Part D plan or have enrolled in a Part D plan because they were automatically assigned by the government to them. Anybody who's a low-income subsidy, anybody who's a dual eligible, they get auto-assigned to a Part D prescription provider. They have the option to switch if they do the work to do that. Many people don't. They say, oh, my Part D prescription provider is WellCare, okay. And that's it. They're not paying for much, so they don't care. Now WellCare gives us that Part D only member to call and say, we are calling you on behalf of WellCare. We are your Part D prescription provider. Of who they know, because that's who's processing their drugs right now. So that's where the whole building of the credibility starts to come in. How are you today? Reason for my call today is that WellCare's asked us to reach out to some members in the Sussex County area to see if we can help them and to make sure they're receiving all the benefits they may be entitled to with their WellCare plan. You've wet their palate a little bit with what you just said. We found that many Part D only members may not be taking advantage of all the benefits WellCare has to offer. So I'm actually calling you with some good news. That's a nice change, isn't it, Mrs. Jones? Yes, it is. The other reason for my call today, a lot of agents are using this and it's working well. They're starting out, it's not in the script right now because it's very much climate controlled in the climate we're sitting in COVID right now. But a lot of the agents are saying, calling you for two reasons today. First reason is WellCare has asked me to reach out to some members to see if we can help them make sure they're taking advantage. The second reason is to just check in with you to see how things are going with you. We know it's been hard for the last 6 months. A lot of people are cooped up in their home. How you doing, Mrs. Jones? How are you making out with the whole COVID situation? And have a conversation. It starts with the conversation of making a friend and finding out how they're doing. And some people are just going to, quite honestly, bitch and moan a little bit to you. They're going to complain a little bit to you. Others are going to say, I'm doing all right with it. Whatever it is, it's a conversation. And this is your introduction. I'm calling with some good news. That's a nice change, isn't it? Now, is your address still? Some people say, on my screen, it says your address is. Again, it makes it so that you're starting to build your credibility. Now, some of the enhancement benefits I was referring to earlier, Mrs. Jones, at no cost to you are things like free over-the-counter writing, some hearing, some dental, even some vision benefits. WellCare also offers an individualized care plan that many members find helpful. So these are some of the things I was talking about earlier when WellCare says that there's a lot of members that aren't taking advantage of all the benefits that they have. Now, I need to ask you a few questions to determine your eligibility. You're not going to have to provide any health-related information unless it's used to determine your eligibility to enroll. That's one of those compliance questions, compliance statements that you have to make in there. When I say you don't have to read this thing verbatim, that's one of the things you have to say. One of the things that you have to say, all of our calls are recorded and monitored for quality assurance. May I have your permission to record and monitor this call? If they say no, you can't go forward. It's illegal. Now, Nicole, how often do people say no that you're not allowed to record the call?
Not often at all. Usually it's yes when the call is being recorded. They just feel a sense of security.
That's right. It's a webinar.
So you're not going to have any issues there, but you have to do it. I mean, it's just part of the script and part of the CMS regs are what you have to do. Gabby, next page. Okay. Did we, right, okay. Okay, so, nope, dead one more back. Got it, thanks. So, Mrs. Jones, today we're going to be discussing some Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plan options for you. Now, will this be for you or for someone else? Now, you know this already. You know that they're the member. You know that you're talking about for them. So you could flat out say to them, we're going to be discussing some Medicare Advantage. Now, I assume that since you're the prescription drug holder, this is going to be for you. You could say something along those lines. This right here, guys, is your scope of appointment. That's one of the advantages of being able to be teledigital here. You don't have to send them something to sign for a scope of appointment, and you don't have to read all of those disclaimers that are normally in a scope of appointment by simply asking these few questions. Now, if we get disconnected, may I have your permission to call you back? If they say yes, okay, and I assume this is the best number to reach you at. Now, do you currently have a power of attorney or legal guardianship to make medical and insurance decisions on behalf of yourself? That is as simple as saying, are you able to make your own decisions, or do you have a power of attorney? If someone, if you're speaking to a daughter or a son or something for that person, then it's a matter of, now, Mrs. Jones, you must have power of attorney to enroll someone into a plan. I can give you general information about it, but I can't discuss it. If the person says no, they don't have power of attorney, or, they're able to discuss it. You have to go that route, because if someone is a neighbor who's just sitting there and says, yeah, I take care of them every once in a while, obviously that person isn't the one that could enroll them or start going into specific things. Next slide. So here's where we start kind of our fact-finding questions, if you will. Here's where we go into looking up the plans that are going to be available for them, and getting into, you know, what's important to them and what's not important to them. But there's a couple of things you got to know. Number one, you have to know if they're in a county that there even is a product in. You have to know if they have Medicare Part A and Part B. You know, you have to know some of these things. So, may I have your zip code and county in order to pull up the Medicare plans that are available in your service area? Do not skip the county question. This is key, because zip codes do go into more than one county. I live in a zip code that's in 2 counties. So it's very important to ask them the zip code and the county to make sure you're looking at the proper plans. Mrs. Jones is great. I see WellCare actually has Medicare Advantage plans that offer benefits that include your prescription drug coverage. Now, let me just determine your eligibility. Now, do you have both Medicare Part A, Part B? Yes, you hear. Now, if they say no, then you have to go into, you'll see that this script maps you out a little bit. If they have both A and B, continue to step D4. If only A or B, then go to step D3. So you could see that this thing trying to kind of guide you. So if they're not eligible, then you have to go to, okay, will you be eligible within the next 3 months? If they are eligible in the next 3 months, then you can continue and go to D4. If the answer is no, or they only have A or B, then it's, you know, you have to have both of them in order to qualify for a Medicare Advantage plan. Then you go into, now, will you have it in the next 3 months? So you have to learn, this isn't the type of stuff that you have to read off of a script, guys. This is the type of thing that you have to know where you're going. You have to have your map, and you have to have your path of, obviously you need to know if you're dealing with someone that has Medicare A and B. I mean, it's super relevant. And if not, you can't say, oh, you don't? Okay, bye, have a great day, and hang up the phone. You have to know. They may be getting A and B in 2 weeks. You don't know. So that's where you have to make sure you ask these proper questions. Next slide. Now, after you determine that they have their A and B, you have to find out if they've been diagnosed with ESRD or have you been on kidney dialysis in the last 2 years. We do not have, every year a new script comes out. There will be a new script for 2021 product. I anticipate that we're probably going to get it on October 1st because everybody waits till the last minute. But end-stage renal disease is going away as a question for Medicare Advantage for 2021. So we imagine this is going to be removed from the script. But for right now, you have to ask them, have you been diagnosed with ESRD? Do you currently have a prescription drug plan? You can just say flat out, okay, I know you have a prescription drug plan right now, obviously, because we are your prescription drug provider. Do you currently have Medicaid or extra help? You need to know this. You need to know which plan you're going to put them in. This tells you where you're going to go. So it's very important to find out what it is they have. Now, Mrs. Jones, I have some questions that's going to help me understand any coverage you may have. This is where you're digging in even deeper on the fact-finding questions. Now, do you have any existing coverage such as TRICARE? Go ahead, next slide. You know, do you have any VA benefits? Do you have any employer group insurance coverage? This is the type of questions that you must go into to find out what their story is. You know, if they say, no, I only have the Part D prescription plan, but I also have an employer group benefit right now through the union and everything is covered for me. Well, now you kind of know, okay, well, Mrs. Jones, you could lose that employer group coverage by enrolling in a Medicare Advantage plan. This may not be the best bet for you. So this is where you got to do your fact finding. You got to know where you're going. You're going to hear about hot buttons at this point too. Now, Nicole, I know I ask you this on every single training, But this next section, based on what they've told you so far, you only go to the question that matters, correct? You're not reading every single question on the sales script part. I know you are on the enrollment script for section B10. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So if we're dealing with a special election period, you have to read, since we're currently outside the open enrollment period, which runs from October 15th to December 17th each year, you need to have a special election period. Now, you told me earlier that you had Medicaid. Because you have Medicaid, that allows you to be able to make a switch during this period. Or you told me that you've recently moved, or whatever it might be. This is how you find that special election period for them. Next page, please. All these questions are the questions that get it so that we can do this enrollment. Do you have Medicare and Medicaid? Is your state helping to pay for Medicare premiums? Or do you get extra help? This is usually the question that makes us be able to enroll somebody within the plan during this time. Now, during open enrollment, I guess because you're doing January 1st effective dates, Dan or Nicole, do you remember, because it's been a year, do you remember during open enrollment, do we have to go through these questions, or do we just, because it's open enrollment, we don't go there?
We do not go there. It's there's actually a line in the script for open enrollment specifically that, and it's not on here right now because it's irrelevant, but it actually says with the new script, because typically during the year you need to find a special election period, something to this language. You need to find an election period, but since we're in the annual election period that runs October 15th to December 7th, you don't need an election. You don't need a special period. We're able to move forward with the application today, or something like that language.
Okay, awesome.
It's been removed from this script.
Awesome. So in a couple of weeks, guys, you're going to be able to ignore all of this portion of it for that 7.5 weeks of open enrollment. So that's great news. But again, these are the questions that will give you that special election period. We're setting you up, specifically this group and this training and the training that we're doing in the next couple of weeks. We're setting you guys up for success during open enrollment here, but that's your jump start. We're not looking to do this just for open enrollment. We're looking to set you up to be able to make a lot of money 12 months out of the year. Open enrollment is a great tool. It's time that we can have a lot of success with people that do not have special election periods. But let's face it, it's also kind of a pain in the butt because there's so many changes that we have to go through as far as learning a new product and getting a new script and so on and so forth. But then we want smooth sailing all year long. So, and these are the questions that you need to go through in order to get that special election period. Okay, next slide, please. So obviously we need to determine that special election period was there if it's outside of open enrollment. If it's not, you have to say, I'm sorry, you're not eligible to enroll at this time. If you are on the phone prior to open enrollment, prior to October 1st, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but if you are and you find out that the person does not have a special election period, at this point you say, I can't do anything now. However, new benefits are going to be coming out within the next week or two. And what I'd like to do is give you a call back the first week of October. Is that okay with you? You then have a recorded permission to contact so that you can give that person a call back. You're now going to dig a little bit deeper to find out what's important to them. So we're on section E1. What type of plan do you currently have? Now you should know this already, guys. You should, if you've asked all the right questions going into this, you should know what their situation is. You know, Mrs. Jones, what do you like about what you have right now? What would you like to change? What's most important to you? You got to find those hot buttons because one person might really, really care about dental and another person may not care about dental but cares about over the counter. You know, it's different strokes for different folks. So you really got to find out what's important to them here. When we heard, one of the things that blew me away yesterday is in the state of Michigan, when they were talking about, I think it was the Detroit area, I could be wrong in the area, between the flex card and the dental benefits, a person could have $6,500 in dental benefits. That's absurd. That's an absurd number. But a person who has no teeth doesn't care. So everything is relevant here. You gotta find their hot buttons. And then you need to repeat it back. Okay, Mrs. Jones, so you're looking for a plan that you're able to get some glasses every year and possibly get, you know, some Advils and toiletries paid for. Is that correct? Yes, that would be important to me. That's what you need to hear so that you could then say, you know, WellCare has a number of plans in the area for you that may be a good fit. Now we're going to go to E2. Now, let me just check your doctors, Mrs. Jones. Now, do you have a specific primary care physician that you'd like to keep? Now you have to search. We're going to get into the specifics of how you search for a doctor and how you look up the prescriptions and so on and so forth. We're going to do that. I don't know if we're going to get to that today or if it's going to be tomorrow. But this is where you're going to go into that portion of it. Now, if you find that a doctor is not a part of the WellCare network, you have to, it's in the script here, would you be willing to change primary care doctors? Don't go about it that bluntly. First thing you need to find when you say, now, do you have a specific primary care physician? Oh, yeah, my doctor is, oh, what's his name? Oh, you know, I only go to him once a year. And I've only seen him once. That's important. It's important to know and hear whether or not there's a relationship with that doctor, or whether, oh yeah, of course, my doctor's Dr. Joe Smith, and oh, I've been seeing him for 22 years. Oh, I love that guy. I see him every month. That's something that's pretty important to know versus the person that hardly sees that doctor. Now, the doctor not being a part of the network when you're dealing with a PPO is very important, because you have not gone into the benefits yet. You have not gone into this is what your copays are going to be yet. So if you know that you're going to be looking at a PPO plan, you may not have to go into yet this doctor is not a part of the WellCare network. Because although he may not be a part of the WellCare network inside, he could be a part of it on the outside, especially if you're dealing with a plan where it's the same cost, whether they're in network or out of network. So choose your words carefully here, because you don't want to blow someone off right off the bat. Oh, he's not part of the WellCare network. Well, guess what? You may have just shut them off completely from listening. So make sure you listen. Now, if you know you're dealing with just an HMO product that doesn't have a PPO product and the doctor's not a part of it, then you need to say, now it looks like Dr. Jones is not a part of the network. And then you need to look at some other resources to make sure he's not a part of the network. Again, we'll go into those resources either later or tomorrow. Again, you're going to hear from some people that they just don't care about the doctor. And others, it's very, very important to them. You got to find out what's important to people and then give them what's important to them. Make sure it's not just a primary care physician. You need to find out about specialists. You need to get into the specialist. And then you need to go to the drugs. Now, what I'm going to need to do now, Mrs. Jones, is I would like to check your prescription. So I need you to give me the name and the doses of the prescription drug plans, the prescription drugs you're on, so I can let you know how much they would cost you on the plans that are available. Now, I know I said to you earlier, these are prescription drug members already from WellCare, and you're putting them in a WellCare plan. So it should be the same, right? Not always. You could be dealing with, most of the time it is when you're putting them in a WellCare plan. Most of the time it's the same. But you may be putting them in an all-well plan. Because don't forget, you're going to be contracted to write with 5 different insurance companies. So depending on the state you're working in and whatnot, you may be moving to a new plan. So the prescription drugs could be different. So you do have to check what's relevant. And this is important, guys. Don't skip this step, because remember, it's all being recorded. And if it ever comes back to you that you did not do what you were supposed to do, you know, this drug wasn't covered or whatever it is, and it turns out on the recording you never even asked them about their drugs, there's a compliance challenge. So make sure that you ask those questions. Now, before I go into the teaser state specific, I just want to stop and ask Nicole, and just so you guys know, Mike mentioned it earlier and also talked about it yesterday. Nicole is kind of the guru here as far as what's being said on the telesales side. She's been extremely successful herself and now manages the people or actual employees that do this for a living all day, every day. So she's been through thousands and thousands and thousands of phone calls before and knowing where things go. So, Nick, did I miss anything as far as the doctor side, the prescription side, or the eligibility side before us moving into the teaser and the calling of SPOP?
No, you didn't miss anything. That's basically how it goes.
Okay. The teaser state specific. So we are into step number 5 right now. This is not scripted here. Okay. This is where you need to know your product. This is where you need to know the area you're working in. This is where you're looking at the summary of benefits and saying, okay, I see X, Y, and Z here. I see a dental. This is where you take what they told you was important to them. It's really important to know what was important to them. This is where you take that and you bring it into play. You say, Mrs. Jones, you mentioned to me earlier that you've been looking for something that has a dental plan. And I think I found a plan that has it for you. Looks like your doctor takes it. Looks like all your drugs are going to be covered under it. Looks like you're able to get possibly $2,000 in dental benefits and possibly even some over-the-counter items. But I don't know if you qualify, Mrs. Jones. I don't know if you're, as of right now, Jacqueline, we're still on E2, E3. We didn't get to the call SPOP part yet of F1. So now you're hitting those things to tease them, to let them really want this, and then you pull the rug out from under them, but I don't know if you can get it. I don't know if you qualify for it. I don't know if you're eligible for this, but we're going to find out. This is where you're going to either call SPOP. This is where you're going to look it up in the Ascend app. This is where you're going to find out where their eligibility is. Now, this is really important that it doesn't matter if we're in open enrollment or not. If they have Medicaid, you're going to put them in a dual plan. You got to make sure you're putting them in the right plan. So you need to know that they qualify for that Medicaid side. Dan, I got to ask you this again, going back to last year, because I can't remember what I did this morning, never mind last year. If we find that someone is dual and it is open enrollment, are we enrolling them under the guise of their dual, or are we enrolling them under the guise of it's open enrollment?
It actually, based on, it doesn't matter. You can do either. But based on the way the application will read, whether it be Ascend or if something were to happen and someone was to end up in the field, they just have to be consistent. So you literally would just mark the AEP tab on the Ascend app, or you would mark the specific reason for the SEP on the application on the Ascend app. But it doesn't matter. You could do one or the other. It's just get confusing when it's both.
Okay. The reason I'm asking that question is because with the Ascend app, now that we're learning about
and sorry, Ann, I'm just going to jump in. And Steve, you're correct. It only goes through 9/30, and he's referring specifically to the a 1/1 effective date, though. You're 100% correct. It goes to 9/30, 10/1, and onward. However, come 10/15, it would matter with the 1/1 effective date.
Right. So from an eligibility perspective, though, I'm wondering if we're putting them in that dual product, whether it's because of an SEP or whether it's an AEP, I'm wondering if that SPOP confirmation needs to go through in order to get them in a dual plan. You get what I'm saying?
Gotcha. That would be an Ascend type scenario.
Okay. Okay, so even though the SEP is ending for September 30th, we're still going to be writing dual plans. So making sure you don't want to put someone in a dual plan and you didn't confirm that they actually do qualify for the dual plan with their Medicaid status. That's huge. So you're still going to be using that SPOP line. Stephen, I want to go back to one thing though. I'm going to try not to go off a little bit here, but I got to go here for a second. There is special election periods out the wazoo right now because of hurricanes, because of weather-related issues. And because of it, you can actually enroll someone in the fourth quarter, that did not take advantage of their switch in the third quarter. Does that make sense? You guys can unmute at any point and talk. We're a small group, guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, quick question on that. Would y'all be sending us, for the states we're working, if an SCP for disaster comes out? Just so we know.
Yeah, we'll certainly look it up. We'll certainly look it up and find it. Yeah, sure, definitely. We'll find that out.
That's one of the things that we actually get excited about when we find them. When we make them out, we kind of share those pretty fast amongst the circle because we got another reason or a new way to help someone because there's an SCP there, a market that we were struggling in or what have you.
Hello,
Jackie,
Anthony.
Yeah, I just saw your question, Jackie.
Okay, great.
And the answer is, I don't know. We have not had many applications come back saying that this person's used their election already. And I believe the reason for this is because CMS has their head up their butt. I believe is the reason. And they don't actually know. Now, we've had some, but I'm going to say, as of right now, the answer is no. SPOP is not able to confirm that. Dan or Nicole, would you agree with that right now?
I would actually say the same. When I saw the question, I wanted to finish the part about the SCP and then go here. The reason that we've been given in the past is actually related to the fact that Medicare has no way of judging that. That was an answer that we got last year, but they don't have a way of basically compiling the information and spitting out something that says, nope, this person doesn't work because they've already used their election period for this quarter. That's what we've been told from the various carriers.
Wow. Okay. Thanks.
No worries. But in addition, to kind of go with that, the SPOP come, AEP when we're on the Ascend platform, you may not even need to use SPOP for every single call because Ascend is going to give you that. And we'll talk more about what Ascend will actually do. That's the platform that you're taking the application, but the Ascend application is going to tell you what to go for without actually needing to call SPOP. That's as AEP progresses, though. That's not going to be, October 1.
We're testing that
Thank you.
now.
Yeah, we're in kind of test mode with it. That's when you saw them, I kind of got excited because I was like, it's a great question. It's really cool. Some of the questions that are coming up are, you could tell, the MA experts asking these questions. They're not very basic ground level.
Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing, Dan. You could tell you guys know
your stuff.
Yeah. Jacqueline, who you said it's been your experience, they usually know the last time they changed. You're talking about the client or you're talking about the carrier?
Yes, the clients.
The clients, right.
Yeah.
When was the last time you changed?
Yeah. And
they
here,
might not know about the September, to December one, but if they know that it was before that, they usually can tell you.
And here's one of the reasons why I believe it would just make sense. One of the reasons why we're not coming across it that often is because these were people that were auto-assigned to WellCare's Part D plan. So because they were auto-assigned there means that they didn't make the decision to go there because they made a change. It was they've been assigned there all year, or they just became eligible for this low-income subsidy or Medicaid, which is probably, it would make sense on why we're not coming across it a lot. Actually, that makes total sense. Let's have a little light bulb. All right, let's go into calling SPOP. We told them that, we told them about it. We're gonna call SPOP, or like Dan said, we're gonna use the app. We're hoping this app works exactly the way that they said it was. So far, I believe, Dan, you could back me up on this, or Nick, you could back me up. So far, I believe we're having fairly good success with it, with not having to call in and use the application. Am I accurate?
So far, I've only had one challenge, and that was a very minimal challenge in the state of New Jersey. Everything else with the application has been flawless from what's been come out with it. So, yeah, so no, there's no concerns there, and that's why, you know, I hate to kind of go against how Anthony's kind of presenting you to, you know, use SPOP, but my hope, and this is kind of a wish list kind of item, but by the end of this month, we don't even have to teach some of the new people that we have coming on using SPOP because their send is so smooth.
Mm-hmm. Well, we still, whether it's calling SPOP or whether it's us checking it on the Ascend app, regardless, we still have to do, you mentioned earlier, Mrs. Jones, that you have Medicaid. I'm on F1, guys. In order to determine if you are eligible for one of our special needs plans, I need to verify your Medicaid level with WellCare. Okay, now I'm going to turn this over to Nicole because she is way smoother than me in the way she asks for the information in order to do SPOP, because it's not just let me get your Medicare ID number. It doesn't work like that. So Nick, I'm gonna just turn it over to you for how do you ask for it, and what do you do through the whole SPOP process?
So basically, they mentioned that they have the Medicaid. I just basically tell them, you know, what's next here is that I have to check your eligibility to see if you actually qualify for these benefits. What I'm going to need you to go and grab your Medicare ID number. It's your red, white, and blue card. On that card, there is a combination of letters and numbers. I'm going to need that number and just, you know, how do I say it? Oh, can you confirm your date of birth, please? And they go get their card, they read off the number without hesitation. I find when people hesitate or make a big deal about the number, that's where you get the objections. So just make it as smooth as possible. And that's basically how I ask for their information.
Okay. Now, right now, Nick, with utilizing the app, if we're calling in, and there's the phone number to call in, if we're calling in, you're going to basically put people on hold. You're going to check back with them when you get put on hold by SPOP. Ms. Jones, just letting you know they found you in the system. Now they're just determining your eligibility. So it's just going to be a couple more minutes. And then you put them back on hold again. That's if you're calling them. If you're doing it on the app, Nick, are we putting people on hold while we're looking it up on the app, or are we continuing to have conversation? Is there awkward? How are we doing that?
I find that people are just entering it in. But most of our telesales agents are still calling SPOP.
Okay. Okay.
They haven't really steered away from that.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so that part of it, guys, we're learning because it's new for WellCare. It's something that Centena's had. It's something that I think the only other carrier that has ever had this where you could search it on your own has been Anthem. I don't know that any other carriers have had it before. But so it's new, but again, like Dan said, it's starting to work. That part of it we need to adjust, but we need to make sure that we're confirming their eligibility if we're putting them in a dual plan or even an LIS plan where the premium is going to be covered for them. Okay, we have called SPOP. We've got the good news. We found out they qualified. Next slide. Next slide, Betty. Okay, now, here is what I was explaining to you earlier, that this is not a script. This is laid out for you in the things that you need to go through, but you're going to be reading it off the summary of benefits. Mrs. Jones, let me explain to you the plan. This is where you're selling, okay? If you've done everything right up until this point, this should be easy and you should be getting an enrollment. But this is important. This is the stuff that if there's ever a complaint, so let me explain complaints. As a field agent, those of you who have history doing it, experience doing it, you know that someone calls in, says, they never told me that I was going to have a $10 copay here. They never told me if I went to hospital it was this. They never told me. And then they send out a 19-page questionnaire to you, and you need to give a whole statement and sometimes a phone interview, and it's determined that way. It doesn't work like that with telesales. If there's a complaint, here's what the compliance officer says. Send us the recording. There's a complaint, give us the recording. Because there's nothing that you can say that's going to change what is heard on the recording. You either said it or you didn't say it. It's black and white. So you got to do what you got to do here, and you got to go over the plan benefits. You got to go out. You got to go over in and out of network. If the doctor was not in the network and this is a PPO, you have to say, Mrs. Jones, Dr. Smith is not in a part of the participating as an in-network provider. But the good news is he can accept your out-of-network benefits as long as he agrees to accept the WellCare out-of-network benefits. Now, the premium for the plan is this, the deductible is this, the copay is this. Everything that's on this list, you need to hit. If it's a PDP plan, even if it's a dual eligible person and they're not going to pay anything, you have to go over the PDP plan benefits and what the cost may or may not be. It's okay to say, Mrs. Jones, what you have right now on the Medicaid side, Medicaid is going to cover that, but I need to tell you what the plan, how the plan is set up right now. You need to go over the max out of pocket. You need to go through everything that's in the plan. That is your full plan presentation. We're going into step number 8, which is ask for the sale and a callback. We've now completed, I'm sorry, I just need to do that one last line. Go back up one more time. We've now completed the overview of the WellCare plans available to you. Now, do you have any questions, or would you like me to review any other benefits before you decide to enroll? Listen to the questions, answer the questions, and make sure you answer them the right way. One thing that WellCare has had that's been really good in the past has been on their website being able to not only pull the summary of benefits for the county and the plan, but also evidence of coverage. Now, evidence of coverage is long. It'll be a couple hundred pages long. But you can get more specific if they have a specific question about acupuncture, or they have a specific question about an eye injection, or whatever it might be. You can actually get your answers right through the wellcare.com website by looking it up. And we could teach you how to do that another time. Actually, I think that's part of the training for tomorrow. But you can get your answers so you can answer the questions the right way. Go ahead, Gabby. Now, Mrs. Jones, would you like to proceed with completing enrollment into the WellCare D-SNP plan at this time? They say yes. If they don't, I understand. We went through a lot of information for today. May I have your permission to call you back, whatever it might be. You shouldn't get this if you do the right thing. If you answer the right questions and you go through it the right way, you shouldn't get it. Now, here's the whole part of the callback. Now, at this point, I have all the information I need to begin the enrollment process, Mrs. Jones. Now, during the enrollment process, some of the information I'm going to review may be similar to what we've already discussed, and I want to make sure I've captured all your information correctly so that your enrollment into WellCare is completely accurate, because we do not want any disruptions in your coverage. For the most part, this was an outbound call. If this was an inbound call, you can continue right to right to step 9. But 99% of the time, guys, this was an outbound call. Mrs. Jones, Medicare requires that enrollments be completed on incoming calls only, and I called you today. So would you mind? You don't have to say, would you mind? You can say, I called you today. So what I need you to do is give me a call back so that we can complete this enrollment for you. You can call me at Diversified Health, and then you're going to give a number. Here's how the phone system works today. Phone system may be working differently in the next 4 weeks. Like Mike said earlier, we're in the process of investing substantially into our already extremely expensive phone system. But as of right now, the way it works is they call you back at this phone number. You're going to give them your extension, your name and your extension. They're going to call back. It's going to go to our main line, and either whether it's Gabby, Dominique, Jeanette, Tracy, whoever it is that's answering the phone. They'll just ask for you. The call will be transferred directly into you, and you are good to go to start moving into step number 9. If it is off hours and there is not an employee here answering the phone, you just have to give them your extension. They dial your extension and it'll go into you. It works just fine. It happens all the time where we do enrollments at night and on the weekends. And then at that point, you're going to go into step 9, of which I am going to stop now with this portion of it. And open the floor up and take yourself off mute and ask any questions you want right now, because I know I just hit you with a lot of stuff to look over.
I have a question. The new phone system that you're referring to, is that going to be automatically recording it, or do we have to record on our own?
No, all the calls are being recorded, because what happens is if they ever come back for anything, they want every single call recording, including the recordings that somebody told you it was okay for you to call them back. You know, right. It does happen, guys, that, you know, you're getting through a presentation, a person has quite an interest. You spend 30 minutes on the phone with them and they say, you know what, Jacqueline, I did not expect this for today. I am very interested in this and I do want to go forward with this, but I got to ask you if we can do this tomorrow at 10 a.m. Well, we need that first recording and the second recording where you picked up from where you were. It is okay if at any point a call has to end or gets cut off and you pick up where you left off. We'll have all the recordings to be able to piece it together. They understand that this happens in more than one call sometimes.
Okay, are we going to have I'm sorry. Are we going to have to write down the recording ID?
Are you going to have a what?
To write down the recording ID. The number.
Right on. So I'm sorry, Jackie. I'm going to jump in there. Okay. So actually, Jackie, what happens is after you write it's a great question. After you write the application, you close it out on the menu sales. What we actually ask you to do is when you send us over the application, we ask you to just tell us the times and the dates that you spoke to the person. And we go on our back end and we pull all the recordings that are necessary that are related to that phone number. And sometimes, you know, it may be a different line. Maybe you called them on their home line and they called you back on their cell phone.
Right.
But we go in, we take all of those recordings, we store them on our file, on our server. And what actually happens is most times, I'm not saying what happened to you specifically, but if a complaint does come up, most times complaints come and go away without even the agent knowing about it, because they've, you know, the client said, well, they never approved me to make this change. And we send over the recording. They hear right on the recording, I agree to the plan. I want, you know, you're applying for the dual access plan in Charlotte, North Carolina, this. It's $0. Do you agree and wish to apply? Person says yes. They're getting what they're looking for, and then we're moving forward. And you know that most of the time the agent doesn't even know about the complaint.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Next question. I think Dominique had a question. I saw her just come off mute. I know she's got a question.
I do not have a question. I'm listening.
Okay. Everybody understand where we're at. I realize this, you know, as we started out today, there is quite, it's very overwhelming when you look at this and you look at, you know, however many pages this is, 13-page script or whatever it is, but you're going to find that it starts to just flow for you. It starts to move slow. It flows for you once you do it a few times. It's just a matter of, you know, doing it. You know, if it's someone who, well, after this, you can see like H1, I'm sorry we weren't able to help you today. That's that mapping that I was showing you earlier if someone refuses the recording, for example, or whatever it might be. One of the things that we suggest is, you know, what I need you to do is give me a call back at this number. Now, Mrs. Jones, if you'd like, do you need to take a break or anything like that for a couple of minutes before you call me back? Because I am going to be sitting at my phone just waiting for you to call back. Yes, I need 5 minutes. Yes, let me hit the restroom, whatever it might be. But, you know, it shows that, you know, you're a person too, and you understand that you're not just trying to steal their time by saying something along those lines. Nick, anything through this whole script that we've gone through that you want to either re-emphasize, that you want to change? I told you guys, she's the expert and she's the guru. So what she says, I bow down to. So is there anything you'd like to change or re-emphasize or say what I do here is different or anything like that?
The only thing, I don't know, like, I know we have to ask for the sale, but I kind of assume the sale. I know I'm a rebel. I don't follow directions, but I always assume the sale when I get to that point because I've already created a need. I've already got this person interested. So there's no need for you to, there's really no, I'm a strong believer in there's really no need for you to check eligibility unless you've created a need. There's no need for you to get to that step of seeing if they qualify if you didn't create a need. It's just something you're going to do in vain because they're going to bring you right back to the beginning of the script and say, well, what is this again? So you always want to create a need before checking eligibility. Another thing that I want to add is know the format of the MBI number. It's going to help you a great deal. I think we have something that we're going to send you on that. But always know the format of the MBI number so you're not going back to ask them to repeat a number or you're short 2 numbers or you mistook a letter for a number or vice versa, right? So know the format of the MBI number. And I think we'll probably get into the technicalities of all that later on in the training. But always remember you're the expert and you want to approach the call in that manner. You know more, right? So always approach the call in that manner. And I think that's basically what I have to add for now.
All right, great, thanks.
Is there any supplemental health questionnaire for the additional $50 this year? Do we know?
Oh, the health risk assessment?
Yes.
We have been told that there will be, but we haven't seen it yet, Rob.
Actually, in one of the presentations yesterday, it popped up. They had it on there, but they didn't. Somebody was presenting.
I went through it. Yeah, I saw
it, and they didn't actually. And I was like, oh wow, it's going to be up today. And then they never said anything more about it. I think it's coming.
But Mike, like last year, for example, it was not for teledigital people.
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't do it for teledigital people. So we've been told the exact words of what we were told was, I think that we're going to be able to have the HRA paying the $50 for teledigital people today. That was what I was told by one person from WellCare. So the answer is I don't know.
Okay.
And if it happens, it's actually going to be done immediately following your call. And immediately following if we didn't get through the enrollment call, we will get to that either today or tomorrow. But after you finish the enrollment call, you're going to be able to hand the client off to finish the HRA right at the same time and let them do it. But like Anthony said, it's TBD to be announced yet.
Let me put this on my to-do list right now.
So
Can I just
Dan,
ask, I'm sorry.
well, go ahead, Jackie.
Can I just ask, as telesales agents, would it be necessary to have hard copies of the summary of benefits and things like that? Or do you just suggest that we pull all that information from the WellCare website?
So we'll show you tomorrow how to pull it from the WellCare website. It's going to be hard for you to have. Let's take New Jersey for example. There's I think 5 plans in New Jersey, but New Jersey's not the only state you're working in. You're working in 6 states. Some states have an abundance of plans because they're different by county. For you to have a hard copy of every single plan, it's going to be a little difficult. Now, if you find that you're only working in 2 states, and then in that case, then sure. But it's kind of easy having it up on the screen.
And so if we are licensed in several states, you do just recommend that we do whatever region we're in?
Yeah, but we're afraid to say to people, these are the states you're going to be in right now, because we want to see how the lead flow comes in of those states.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the one thing we do recommend for everybody. I know this sounds crazy that we're even saying to do it this way, but the script that we're going through, that you should print out in hard copy in color, because the blue is what you say, you black it as directions, and the red is where you fill in. But that would eliminate a screen that you have to be working in, and then you could have the summary of benefits open. So right now, don't go crazy trying to get summary of benefits. Not yet.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Maybe this is a question for Nicole, but what are your expectations in terms of conversion ratios? If 1 in 3 last year in a non-telesales environment, but I'm thinking, in Detroit, like we were talking earlier in the call, if you have exceptional products, I'm just curious what the team there thinks about our conversion ratio capabilities this year. And maybe it's state specific, region specific, so maybe it's hard to answer the question, but just curious.
It is hard to answer the question. It is hard to answer the question. We're looking at the PDP leads itself. Again, it does depend on the state, but between 3 and 5% of the PDP leads on the BRC mailers. Mike, do we? I know we played around with so much.
You gotta go back, man. You gotta go back, man. He just. Rob is used to 33% on appointments, right, in the field. So you're used to literally walking in, setting up. We'll get you 6 to 8 appointments a day, and then at that point, you're gonna close 2 2.25 of those appointments, right, and on generally in a good spot while you're sitting in Connecticut. 2 of those are going to be no-show. 2 are going to basically slam the door in your face, or you're not going to get anywhere. Maybe they don't qualify, and then 2 you're going to sell of the 6. In this circumstance, Anthony just threw out there 3 to 5% And that's because we've weeded through on the front end of the appointment setters those who don't pick up ever. They're never going to pick up. Those who hang up on us, those who say they're not interested, you know, all those who are dead, right? those are disconnected numbers. They never actually were connected ever before. So when we look at 3 to 5%, it's literally on how many leads we're having. So 200,000 leads we're going to receive. We could assume 6,000 sales on 200,000 leads, right? That's when we're talking about 3 to 5%. I think it's important to manage expectations with that regard, because if you're not expecting from that perspective, then we're not going to be on the same page. Additionally, when we book appointments for you, so there are going to be some ways that some of you are going to be able to book appointments in areas. If you're generally, the way we look at it is, if you're on the outbound and you're willing to do the work on the outbound, then we'll amplify your effort. We'll answer with some extra appointments that are going to be passed to you from our appointment setters on the inbound. Those generally perform at 20-25% of our booked appointments for a person that are going to be selling over the phone in non-AEP time, which we anticipate going up. We also are working very hard to increase our no-show rate in those areas, because it's so easy for a person to say, yeah, I'll take my appointment tomorrow on the phone with Rob at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. But then we show up and we get there and, you know, we make the phone call, and it's so easy not to pick up that phone, as opposed to when Rob's at the door and he's banging away. He's already waved in the window. He knows I'm home. I can't get away from it. I guess I have to open that door. We're working on ways to improve that, but that's where we stand right now. And yes, when you talk about BRCs, on our BRC on our end, meaning we're getting a business reply card back after we've mailed it, then it's about, you know, the person has now sent back the card. Now we're trying to contact them only through the phone. It's about 10% of those we're going to close. So there's lots of different forms in terms of closing rate, and that's why it's such a difficult answer. But those numbers are the hard numbers that we use every single time we're trying to make these decisions in terms of our investment and the mediums that we use.
All right, well, maybe this is a further conversation, maybe it's offline, but you know, my in-person close rate last year was over 50%. So I'm obviously trying to do a calculus. Do I want to do telesales or do I want to do in person? So, right, so, you know, that's obviously in the next few weeks, something I want to try to drill down on.
The biggest thing you have to face right now is COVID. That's the part that's in here that, okay, great, you had over 50% closing rate in Connecticut, which is frankly historically not the easiest state to be in. Right, so that speaks to your talent already, and placing you in an environment that you're going to be able to take on the best areas of the country with a lower close rate per se, considering you're going to be talking to more people, but with more opportunity, with a stronger product and a hungrier audience. You have to take those other things into play, especially since you're not going to be able to sit there and go into the same houses the way you were a year ago during COVID. When you talk to other agencies, they're not having the success we're having because they're not on the phone the way that we are. They generally have agents that are employed in-house telesales agents that are selling, as opposed to the real aged and seasoned, that's the better word, seasoned salesperson that we're talking about placing on the phone now and giving them all the tools with the best products in the country. And that's why we've seen the success that we have across the nation right now.
All right, well, I don't want to belabor it, but I'm just thinking, you know, if you have 8 telesales appointments a day and you got 10% close ratio, obviously that's a whole lot worse than last year from my perspective. So that's where I'm just trying to gauge this thing.
But don't look at it just from the appointment part too. It's there's going to be a ton of leads that you can be calling. That those appointments are just going to subsidize what it is that you're doing. So,
all right, so I mean, I could theoretically be making 50 calls a day. I don't know what the number is. But
yeah, that's the part. That's the part that I'm going at, Rob. And it's really not 10% closing rate on the phone. You're not going to see a 10% closing rate on booked appointments. I'm saying, in a worst case scenario, it's 15 to 20, and that's outside of AEP. and with some things that we have to tweak. Frankly, we got to get better at lowering the no-show rate on the phone right now. Part of it's because we're booking an appointment for the next day. If we could figure out our systems and improve that opportunity, so we're booking for immediate, or at least an hour out, half hour out. We're in the process of improving that, because that's on us. At the end of the day, there's a huge investment that's made on our behalf as Diversified to make you guys successful. And as we go out and do that, we need to make sure that our money's being spent properly. So we're on top of those numbers like crazy. And obviously, if we're going to book you 8 appointments and you can go out and close 4 of them, or we can give you 8 appointments and you close 1 of them, we're obviously going to lean to the spot that makes more sense with the 4 appointments. It's just that you might find more success in talking to more people in a day's work, as opposed to having to drive and all those other things that are going to play into it. And now, yeah, you may have talked to 50 people and you're not going to have 25 sales in a day, but you're going to have a scenario where you're going to have a lot more opportunity to close.
Okay. Yeah, obviously that's what I'm trying to achieve.
And obviously, the other thing to take into consideration is the people in the South are a lot nicer than the people in the Northeast.
Midwest too.
Midwest too. Okay. The people everywhere but New Jersey, New York.
We are a lot nicer down here in the South. That's right.
Everywhere but New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, everyone's nicer.
Pretty much, yes.
So, and it's relevant. It sounds crazy, but it's really relevant. It really is. There are a lot of different factors to consider. One thing that we can tell you, most of our 50% of our sales force who have gotten on the phone and has gotten on the phone full time, not an hour here and an hour there. I'm talking about the ones that have really gotten on the phone to do this. Up until September 1st, they were averaging almost double what they were doing on the field. The same agent. And part of that is different area. Different area. And part of that is mental of, it's crazy. We'll have one agent that says, please put me anywhere but the state of Tennessee. And then you got another agent that says, please put me in Tennessee. So you get, part of it is mental, or approach, or whatever it might be. So, we've had agents who have failed in Connecticut, right? Because you love it, certain counties, it's all part of that process. But yes, there is a lot to weigh out and to consider there. One of the things that, quite honestly, we're nervous about is, look, nobody knows what's going to happen here as far as COVID goes. Nobody knows. Nobody knows, are we going to have a spike in a month? Is this country going to get shut down again? Or is it a bunch of nonsense and nothing's going to happen and everything's going to be good? None of us know that. In the same token, we don't want to find it out on October 16th. So we know by setting this plan up for being able to give everybody the opportunity to do what they have to do over the phone, they're somewhat COVID proof. Somewhat. We don't want to get in a position where we can't get appointments in the field because the world got shut down again and nobody will let you in the house. We don't know. So that's kind of why we're going so hard and more than doubling down, quadrupling down on what we're doing over the phone.
Last question, maybe from me. Is some of this training going to deal? Let's say we come into a situation which we did in real life. You come to somebody and they have to have their provider, and their provider it's an HMO and it's not in the network, and we have to pivot to pick a name, United Healthcare. Are we going to, through this telesales world that we're living in now, are we going to be able to do that? Is that going to be part of the training? I know you don't love that, but it does happen.
Yeah. So we cannot do the United Healthcare over the phone. We do have agents that will use an Anthem, for example, to run out in the field and get an application, mail it to them, then go back and pick it up. Pick up the signature, if you will. We do have agents that are doing that. With that said, keep in mind, if it's a WellCare PDP lead, you got to dance with the lady that brought for the dance.
Oh, sure.
It's not a straight, easy answer. Now, we are generating a lot of other leads. I mean, we are generating VRCs and we are generating survey leads. And in a scenario like that, then yeah, you got to figure out how to go take the enrollment I believe, well, if it's in Connecticut, Anthem is going to be pretty strong in Connecticut this year, is my understanding, but I could be wrong there. I don't want to mix states. Erase that, I could be wrong. But, you know, you do what you have to do, whether it's through the mail or whether it's, you know, running out to pick up a signature or whatever it might be.
Well, I guess if we're focusing on states or regions in states that are exceptionally strong from the WellCare competitive positioning standpoint, then that's less of an issue.
Right.
I just was curious.
Yep. No, great question. Great question. These are all great questions. This is why this is kind of why we stopped the script here to, you know, get into it.
The bottom line is, if with these 212,000 leads, we could have gotten a lot more throughout the whole country, but we chose the 23 states that we know are the strongest products. If we now get to the point that within these 23 states, we know that Philly, for example, is just getting killed because the network blows. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to stop calling into the Philly County, because we're not going to waste a bunch of time hitting the same spot over and over and over again. And we're just put that aside, and now we move on to the next area where we are, so that we can work through every single one of those leads. So to me, the ability to transition into the areas that are the strongest this year is something we did not have last year. And if we did have it, then it was because we had to drive there a lot farther to get into that spot to make it work. Now we're able to just do it through the phone, and we're still doing it with a warm lead, as opposed to anybody else in the country that's trying to pull it off without that warm lead, and they're just doing it in a cold way, like on the television and the like.
I have a couple, I guess, telesales compliance questions. Whenever I finish a sale, I'm always asking for them to get my information out. Is that something that we'll be able to do for referral wise, to say, you've got my number and extension, give it to anybody you know? Because I know if we're targeting the dual community, they're very tight. And I'm thinking Nevada, if they're bringing in Medicare, Medicaid dual plans for the first time ever, they're all going to be talking about it. So is that something that we will be able to finish it with? This is
Absolutely.
Steve. Okay.
You got to keep in mind that the compliance side, just like it always was, is you can't get the name and number and call them.
Right. But there's no issue with any telesales call the same way.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, if they did have someone that called into you, you don't have to do the call back because it was an inbound call.
Perfect. And then if it's a multiple household, so we'd call in to talk to John Smith, and his wife is also eligible. Mm-hmm. Can we just go ahead and do that, or is that another phone call?
Nick and Dan, how do you handle this?
No worries. Great question. So essentially what's happening there is the way Anthony kind of worded it earlier, the way we always recommend it be worded is, now, after you get into a little bit of your warm-up and you find out who has Medicare and A and B, and you give a little teaser of what it's going to be, saying something along the lines of, at this point, Mrs. Smith, I have a lot of information. I just want to confirm, before I get any further, I just want to confirm, is it any of this information going to be just for you, or is there going to be somebody else in your house that this could benefit as well? At that point, you're getting the husband, the wife, the daughter, sometimes the grandparent, or whatever the situation may be. And when you're getting that information, you're doing a joint presentation. So on every single client, no matter what, you have to have an enrollment call and a sales call. But the sales call can be done at the same time with the husband and the wife on the phone together. And then you're just doing 2 enrollment calls, which can be done on 1 inbound call.
Perfect. Thank you.
You got it.
Okay. Did we just lose the screen?
We did, but she could put it back up.
You know, it's okay, because I think we're going to stop here for the day. Dan and Mike, unless you wanted to try to hit something else, I think this is where we have the stop. We want you to kind of absorb.
This is generally where we stop. We usually stop here and then we wait for the inbound.
Okay. So the plan is to start at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we'll continue with the inbound and then go through a lot of the administrative side of what needs to happen. Again, we're earmarking 2 hours for it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Whether it's a little shorter or a little longer, we'll see. And if nobody has any other questions, then we can cut it there for the day.
was good.
Thank y'all.
Hey, guys.
Well, then everybody have a fantastic evening and look forward to talking to you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Good night,
Bye.
gents.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Be well, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.
and it has a horse with all different colors splattered all over it.
Come on inside with us.
Is there any-
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Are you excited for Saturday?
Yeah.
I wait to see all the beautiful dresses and your smiling faces as you're receiving Jesus. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Where did Ella go? Oh, she disappeared.
Did she hide herself behind Mommy? Yes. Can I go on my computer?
Yeah.
Hello. Can I go on your computer? Or is it on your phone?
No, I have to phone too. Hold on one second.
Just us so far, or is there more? Oh, there's more. Okay.
Run, come here, please.
Faith. Okay.
Hello,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. It's Mr. Shannon for Alex Shannon. How you doing?
Oh, okay, good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Okay.
I have to get in touch with you and also with the twins who made the Light of Christ last year. We're gonna do Pravali Day this year. And we're interested in doing it again. So I'll get in touch,
Okay.
guys, about Pravali Day. I'm already talking about it with the Boot and Weeblos. They're interested in doing it, so I'll do it with the Boot and Township Weeblos too.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
The Weeblos. For the
yeah,
boys.
and we'll do it virtually.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good. Is Megan in on this too? That Megan
Yeah.
Johnson? Okay, good.
Yeah,
Terrific.
that's, I have to get her, and yeah, I have to get in touch with Megan.
Great. Excellent.
Right, but if you could tell her that you talked to me,
Okay.
I'm gonna start it soon, probably in October, and we'll do
Okay.
it evenings, and it'll be virtually around 7. I was thinking like 7 to 7:45, something like that.
Sure. Okay.
All right, I'll get in touch with her, and then I already started talking to the Booten parents, so I'll talk to Megan too.
Okay.
Okay. I'll have
All
to
right,
look
good.
at all the emails.
Yeah.
and get started on that.
Okay. Okay. Now about Saturday, we're gonna get there at 9:30.
Yep.
Okay, and we have the banner. We're making the banner.
Okay, good.
And we haven't had any practice yet. I mean, have you guys practiced at all?
We've only had virtual meetings, and we've been going
Okay.
virtually. We're gonna have our first in practice on Saturday morning before First Communion, and that's what I'm gonna
Great.
tell all the children about too. So
Great.
we've
Great.
been talking about how we receive communion. We've been doing that since the spring, and we've been talking about what First Communion is gonna look like. And when everybody signs on, I'll go over a little bit. I'll review with them, and I'll go over everything with you too.
Okay, good.
Is Alec around?
He is. He's right over here.
Okay.
Come here, Alec. Say hello. Come on, it's for communion. He's over there. He's over on the couch. Wait for Lo. Behind the pillow. All right. He's been Zooming for school and everything. He's pretty shy when it doesn't come to school. He doesn't want to Zoom too much. Oh.
Do you think nobody would be shy with old?
How many kids are doing communion?
20.
Wow. Okay. That's great. 20.
So we're thinking it's going to be a nice day on Saturday. It might be
It
a little
is.
cool. So, you know, you might need to wear like sweaters. Girls might want to wear sweaters to keep their shoulders warmer. Boys, I think, can wear jackets, but that might even be too warm. So just dress for the weather.
Okay.
I seem to think that it's going to be outside. And we're going to set up the chairs, and they're going to be social distanced. There'll be 10 on each side. Faith worked on the rows for the families. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're just going to wait a few more minutes, right, Faith? Yes, okay, we'll wait a few more minutes, and then we'll go over some things. Faith and I touched base yesterday as well, and I wanted to go over everything that we went over too.
Okay.
He's wearing that old suit. Is that okay?
How's everybody doing?
Good, good. How about you? All right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be over soon. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I get that other call, I might be on Matt's phone.
Are other kids wearing suits or are they just wearing khakis?
I tried to Zoom you on an iPad here and it wouldn't, I don't know why it didn't connect. I'm not the best Zoomer.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I used to Zoom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, he can wear a suit jacket. He's wearing a suit. It's a yeah, he can wear a suit. It's just if he's warm, he can take this jacket off. Yeah. Yeah.
My boys, when they made their first communion, they both wore suits.
Yeah. Oh, there's somebody else.
We're gonna give it a couple more minutes.
Sure.
Start with a, okay.
With
Is
that
everybody looking
back.
for Saturday? We're counting down the days. It's getting very, very close.
I was actually counting down the days.
Very, very close.
Oh, should Alec be in the meeting?
Yeah, come here. Oh, okay. Thanks for everything, Faith, that you did for dropping that off and all.
Oh, absolutely.
How many do we have on? I can't even see.
10.
10, okay.
We're missing almost half.
Yeah.
I'm at 22%. Maybe I should get my charger, Chrissy. Yeah, just give me that 6-foot charger. I think it's I thought it would have worked on my iPad. Grab me the I think it's in Alex's room. We have a million chargers around. So you gotta find one of them that's connected.
Claire, I'm just going to send a quick email just to anybody who might get it real quick.
Okay. David was frozen, so I don't know if he had to leave and come back.
Claire, I'm here. This is Jackie, but I have a Boy Scout meeting and I thought this was gonna be at 7, so I put the Boy Scout meeting at 5. I wasn't paying attention. So I'm multitasking here. I'm just gonna turn off my video and off my microphone so I can try to do both.
Okay.
Okay.
No, you have to go. You have to. I'll go upstairs. You want to stay down here?
No, I want to go with you.
Okay, go downstairs. I'm in a meeting. Okay.
All right, why don't we just start, and then as if people come in, they'll come in. It's also recording too, so we can send out a recorded message video to anybody who missed it.
Okay. All right. So right now. So let's go. I'm gonna just move to get out. Escape. It's okay. I'll be back in a minute.
I've got one on the other side of me too.
Oh, do you? Well,
Yes.
she just got home suddenly.
Here she is.
Okay, so let's open up with a prayer. And we'll start with the Our Father. Okay? All right. Right hand up. All right. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, God, for bringing us together to help go over and practice for our first communion. We're looking forward to it and having you are getting closer to you. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, so if everybody could be on mute for a minute, except for Faith, if you want to interject, feel free. I just want to go over with what everything's going to look like on Saturday. So on Saturday, you're going to arrive at 9:30 a.m. We're not going to have anything set up yet. The people who are starting to set up, they're going to start at 9:30 a.m. That's when we can close off the road. So when you get there with your child, just be aware that the chairs aren't going to set up or aren't going to be set up yet. So we're going to have the child or all the children wear masks. I'm going to wear a mask, and Faith is going to wear a mask as well. And we're going to make sure we're social distance, but we're going to be talking to the children and practicing with the children, walking down the aisle or processing down the aisle, and then also receiving communion. While everybody is setting up, we're probably going to line up and practice receiving and also practice processing down an area. It's not actually going to be the aisle, but it will be an area that we will create as an aisle, and we'll pretend it's the aisle. We're going to go ahead, Faith.
Sorry, actually, exactly where the crosswalk is, that's, I believe, where our aisle is.
Okay.
So it's kind of already made on the street.
Okay. I just didn't want to be in anybody's way because I figured they're all going to be setting up, and I just didn't want the
Oh, I see. Beforehand. Okay.
Yeah, just beforehand. Did you have a chance to talk with the person who's setting up the chairs?
I sent an email this afternoon. I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay. So we might need parents' help setting up the chairs. Okay, we might not, we don't know yet. It depends on how they feel. At 9:30, we're practicing with the children. If you can either drop your child off or help set up the chairs. We don't want too many people around at that time because there's a lot going on with us practicing with the children and then also setting up the chairs. So talk with your family members and decide what you can want to do. I would recommend getting back to the area or back to church about maybe 10 o'clock, 10:15, the latest, and then we'll be ready to start at 10:30. Okay. The banners are going to go on the chairs. Faith, did you?
Okay, so Kaylee's, can I have your banner, please, for a second? So Kaylee's banner is a little bit long at the bottom. And when I attach it to the chair with those hooks, so these are the hooks that I purchased to, they're like little hooks and they work perfectly to hang the banner, except that the banners are going to touch the floor, I think. So we might have to take this part of the banner and put it over the chair, and it would have to be behind the chair. I was testing out all different kind of ways to do it, but the banners are sort of long to where the folding chairs are. Does that make sense? So I really think that once we get there, we'll have to kind of play with it to see which way it works. I'll do it with the chair that I have at home, but I'm assuming all folding chairs are the same height, really.
Okay. Would it be easier if we just did the tape?
Yes, it's going to depend on how we're going to tape it onto the chair so it's not really touching the floor.
Okay, so what we could recommend is that everybody bring clear plastic tape, or you could bring tape, or you could bring packaging tape. Just make sure it's clear or see-through. And then when you get there, you can tape the banner to the chair. And if you'd like to use Faith's hooks, you can. And we'll also have tape if you wanted to borrow ours. I was just thinking less interaction and less sharing would be probably more beneficial. So if you have your own tape, you could bring that and just tape your own banner to the chair. That way we're not touching or interacting too closely. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? Because a lot of the things I'm going over now is brand new to everybody. Okay, and we understand that, but these are just things that we wanted to go over in the last final stages of getting ready for Saturday. Once everybody's seated and mass is starting, the children are going to be lined up in the back of the area or the church or the altar, and then they're going to line up single file. And we're going to make sure we line them up so that way then they go down the aisle, and then they're going to sit with the families. Okay, and right in the chair where their banner is. When the children line up, how are you going to hold your hands, boys and girls? Show me how you hold your hands. Good job, Ella. Good job, Kaylee. Okay, remember prayer hands, and our hands make a cross. Okay, you can see. So you're going to walk down the aisle or process down the aisle one at a time. We're going to make sure there's 6 feet between the children. At this point, the children are not going to be wearing masks. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe around right before we're ready to walk down the aisle, if the parents come, get the masks for the children, we'll make sure they're evenly spaced out, and then we'll get ready to walk down the aisle. And the music will play, and then the children walk down the aisle. When we walk down the aisle and our hands are like this, what do we do once we get to our chairs? Do we just go and sit down? Show me what we do. Kaylee's doing it, I see. Good job, Dylan. You're going to bow, okay? Normally, we would genuflect, but you're not going to genuflect on Saturday because you're going to be in fancier clothes. So instead of genuflecting, you're going to bow, and then you're going to get into your seat, okay? After that, we're going to go through the rest of the Mass. You're going to participate in the Mass just like you normally would. You're going to say the prayers, and you're going to just pay attention and make sure you understand what Father Daniel is saying. Then during Holy Communion, we're going to have, what did we say, Faith? The left side, stand up. So everybody on the left side is going to stand up all at the same time, and then they're going to walk up and receive communion, okay? Then when they're done receiving communion, we're going to have the right side stand up, and then they're going to receive communion. Once all the children have received communion, then the parents and the rest of the families can receive communion, okay?
I just want to interject for 2 seconds. So the children are just going to receive from Father Daniel, and then assuming that there's going to be a large number of people at the Mass other than the children receiving, we'll have a Eucharistic minister, Mrs. Kubeli, and she will be the other Eucharistic minister, but the children will be receiving from Father Daniel.
That's why we are doing it this way. That's why we want the children to receive first rather than everybody else, because we want to make sure that they receive for their first time from Father Daniel. Okay. Now let's.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do they get out and then come back around? Are we going to practice that? Because we've only gone inside the church. We've never gone to the park. We've never gone.
We're going to try our best because it is going to be difficult. I would like to, in a perfect world, we'll see how things go, but I would like to practice before Mass starts, maybe walking down the aisle, having the children sit, and then maybe standing up, and then have the children receive communion, and then sit down. So I think they're going to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Faith, I think they're going to go to the last seat rather than the first seat. And then when the family makes their first, or when the family makes the communion, they'll stand up, and then the child in the first communion will sit back in their chair. Does that make sense? Rather than walking through everybody. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do, whatever you're comfortable with. But we can try to practice that. I can't promise anything. It depends on how everything goes and looks. I'm concerned about social distancing too. So we'll see how it works. Am I right, Faith?
Is that your phone, Matt?
I think that the chairs will be, they'll be 6 feet apart from one another. So it shouldn't be an issue for the children to walk through back to their spot. But if we'd rather do it where the child sits at the last seat and then everybody else in the row moves down a seat, that's okay too. I mean, we can see when we get there, and we'll certainly let them know beforehand, because like Mrs. Clear said, we'd like to, practice it.
You want to cover this? Sit here.
Okay. So that's the goal. The goal is to practice. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping if the chairs are set up, then we'll be able to practice before everybody gets there. Okay. So even if we keep everybody else away from the area while we practice, we can try that too. All right. So let's start our first communion. So when we walk down the aisle to receive our first communion, how do we hold our hands? Do we hold them like a pretzel?
Yes.
Do we hold them like this? Like prayer hands. Very, very good. So we hold our prayer hands, okay? And then you walk down the aisle. Once you get to Father Daniel, what do? Do we stick out our tongue? No. We're going to bow. And then how do we hold our hands? Make a throne. And then Father Daniel's going to say the body of Christ, and you're going to say, Amen. You're going to place the body of Christ in your hands, and you're going to use your right hand, and you're going to pick it up and put it in your mouth, and you're going to close your mouth, and you're going to let the body of Christ dissolve in your mouth. Are we going to open up our mouth while we chew? No, we're going to keep our mouths closed and try to let it dissolve in your mouth. You can move your mouth around a little bit, but not too much. And then you're going to return to your pew or return to a seat. When you return to a seat, are we going to be able to kneel down? No, you're not going to be able to kneel down because we're going to be outside. So when you pray,
can I just say something 1 second? If you would like your child to kneel, that's up to you. If you want to bring like a little pad or something to kneel, that's totally up to your family.
Or a towel or something to kneel on if you wanted to. But if you're worried about them dirtying their clothes or anything like that, then they could just go to the front of their seat and just do prayer hands and then bow their heads and then pray to God and say thank you to God and how happy they are to receive Jesus for the very first time. Okay. All right. So we're going to, David, we're going to practice that one more time. Okay. On the Zoom call. And then
got it.
We're also going to practice other ways. But let's practice this way first. Okay. So we're going to walk down the aisle. Show me you hold your hands as you walk down the aisle.
Inside the body of Christ.
Okay, so everybody's holding their hands, prayer hands. You're walking.
Hold your hands like that.
You get to Father Daniel. What do you do when you get to Father? Show me. Very good. We bow. Okay, and then you're going to hold your hands in the throne. Father Daniel is going to say body of Christ, and you're going to say, Amen. Place the body of Christ. You're going to use your fingers, pick it up, and put it in your mouth. And make sure you put it in your mouth before you leave or walk away from Father Daniel. And once it's in your mouth, your lips are closed. You're letting it dissolve in your mouth. You're going to walk back to you. Once you're back to your seat. Once you're back in your seat, you're going to bow your heads, close your eyes, and use your prayer hands and pray to God. Okay? Yes? We're good?
Yes.
Okay. You remember if it's very busy that day. Oh, go ahead, Faith.
Nope, we're good. That's what I was going to say.
Okay. If it's very windy that day, what are we going to use? We're not going to use the throne. What are we going to use? Show me. We're going to use that word. Okay? So we're going to walk down the aisle with our prayer hands.
We need to be doing it.
Father Daniel is going to say, body of Christ, and you're going to say, amen. And then you're going to take fingers, and you're going to gently take the body of Christ from Father Daniel and put it in your mouth. That's just so if it's windy, the post doesn't fall to the ground. We're trying to limit accidents. Go ahead,
I did speak to Father Daniel today, and we'll have to make the call that morning to see how windy it is. So when we practice with your children, we'll let them know at that point how they'll be receiving.
But up until then, if you want to practice with children, practice the 2 ways. Practice using the throne and also practice receiving with the hand. Okay.
Or you know what we only need.
Is there anybody who's receiving through the mouth? Do we know, Faith? Did anybody email you? No? Okay, so then I'm not even going to talk about that. Okay, so we're either going to do the throne or Father Daniel. And we'll make the decision. Okay, and we'll practice up until then.
Yeah, we just got it today.
Faith, you need to act.
Oh my God,
at the end of Mass,
because I'm having some.
Father Daniel's
from North Carolina.
Can we make sure everyone is on mute? It's hard to hear you.
No, hold on. Daniel, can you help me? Okay, thank you. All right, is that better? All right, so at the end of Mass, Father Daniel protest aisle. Every family is going to stay where they are. Should we exit? The last person leaves. The last pews leave first, or the first pews? Faith.
Okay, so at that point, the families can stay in the rows that you're in, and Father Daniel will come to the front so the children can take a picture with him. We do have the photographer there, so he will be ready to take pictures. We're just going to go aisle by aisle the same exact way that we're doing. The same way that we're doing it for when they receive First Holy Communion. Is you'll go up row by row if you want your picture taken with Father Daniel. If you don't want your child's picture taken with Father Daniel, then once the Mass is over, your family is free to go. But just in order to keep the there to be a huge crowd rushing in, we're just going to go pew by pew. It went very fast for confirmation, so we'll do the same thing for this Mass.
Okay, so it'll be one at a time.
Yes.
Okay. No group picture.
As soon as your family is ready to leave, then we will go. Group picture? I don't know. I did not ask Father Daniel or the photographer. I would not think so.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking
it'll just be family by family. Yeah.
It's a different situation now.
Correct.
The only way would be with masks, and I don't think that'll make a nice picture. So just one by one. Okay. There's a lot of nice, pretty places outside the church where you can stand with your family and take pictures as well. Okay. Are there any questions with how things are going to go on Saturday?
No.
Okay. I did want to stress the beginning because we really didn't talk about that in the past. So just make sure your child is there at 9:30 to practice. If you want to drop your child off and come back about 10:15, that would be fine. We are going to have somebody setting up the chairs at 9:30, and we could let you know on Saturday if they need help setting up the chairs. There's going to be 100 chairs to set up, so all together. So they are going to be social distance. They are going to be in lines with the families, but there are a lot of chairs to set up, so we might need some help. Okay, just to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Faith, did you want to add? No? Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or anything they wanted to add?
They're going to need to be dressed at 9:30, right?
Yes, the children should be ready and dressed at 9:30 for their first communion.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and it'll be a little on the chilly side. Keep an eye on the weather. Just make sure that if it's chilly, just have the just wear a sweater or bring a jacket or something like that. Okay. All right, I think we covered everything. Just remember to practice with your children. I think they're ready. We've been doing this for a while. And it looks like they're getting closer to being ready, and it looks like they're excited. They know how to do the prayer hands. They've been practicing that. I think in the past, that was the biggest deal. And walking down the aisle. The children like to move faster down the aisle than they're supposed to. So if you can practice that at home as well, just have them practice holding their hands in prayer hands and just walking slowly, and we'll make sure that they're 6 feet apart. They like to race for some reason.
That's true.
Right? I don't know if there's anything else that I could think of from last year's experience to tell them. I think that was about it. But they're going to be walking one at a time down the aisle. And then when it's time to make their first communion, it'll be one side and then the other. And then again, prayer hands. When it's time to make their communion, they don't walk fast down the aisle. It's only in the very beginning when they process down the aisle, they tend to move faster. Okay, but we'll be in the back of the church, or the back of the area where we're going to have church, and we'll make sure the children know when to go. Okay, I usually, well, I'll be back there with them, and I'll tell them when they can walk down the aisle. Okay. Remember, during Mass, no pictures. There is a photographer. The photographer will take pictures of your children walking down the aisle. In the very beginning, they'll take pictures of your child making their first communion. That's why we're doing one row at a time, to make sure the photographer gets each child. That was the mistake that happened last year. And then we also, at the end of Mass, once everything is done, when the children are with Father Daniel, that's also going to be just the photographer. Okay. Once that is done, then you can take pictures on your own. And then before Mass starts, you can take pictures on your own. But once the children start walking down the aisle, we ask you just to please put your cameras away. Okay. And the photographer.
Okay, great.
Is Faith, the photographer. They don't have to pay for the photographer. The pictures are free. Okay. So don't worry about that. Okay. Are there any questions? Oh, there's one thing I wanted to say. Faith, I forgot about this too. I make a banner every single year, and every year the children bring in a picture and they put it on the poster, or it's a poster. It's not really a banner. So I am going to do that this year too. I'm going to make a poster. It's going to say Jesus loves us, and it's going to have a picture of a cross on it, or it's going to have a cross. And then if your child can bring in a wallet-sized picture of themselves, so they could put it on the poster, so it can be in the church. So that way, because I know Father Daniel has been asking everybody to pray for the children who are making their first communion. So I thought that would be nice to show the parishioners who's making their first communion. So we've done it every single year, and I'd like to do it this year.
Nice.
So if you could just remember, I know it's just one more thing we have to remember for Saturday, so I'm sorry. But I'll have tape for you to use as well, and you could tape your child's picture to the banner or to the poster, okay? And I'll put it in an email. I'll put it in an email as a reminder too, okay? Everything I said tonight. And Faith, you said we taped this meeting? Yes, okay. But I'll email everybody with the reminders that we went over today as well, okay? With the schedule and also with the pictures, okay?
Okay. Okay, I have to go.
Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you Saturday. Thank you for everything.
Oh, you're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions?
Claire, I'm sorry if I missed it, but the banners that the kids made with their names and like the chalice on it, we just bring those at 9:30? They don't need to be there?
They don't have to be there early. You could bring them when you get there. Yeah, bring them at 9:30, or you could even bring them, because you're going to drop the children off and come back, or you can stay. It's up to you. I don't know who asked me that question. Was it Jackie?
No, it's Courtney Valdione.
Oh, Courtney. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, yeah. So you could either bring it at 9:30, or if you want to stay with your child, the chairs will not be set up at 9:30. So that's why I suggested if you wanted to come back, you can bring the banner and put it on the chair at that time once the chairs are all set up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. But the picture you could bring earlier, and I'll have the poster in a location where when the children come in, they can put their picture right on the poster. Okay. Are there any other questions? No? Okay. Faith, did you want to add anything? Did I miss anything? No? Okay. All
Nope,
right.
I think we got it all.
Okay. All right. Are we excited? Are we looking forward to it? Yes?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Where do the banners go?
The banners are going to go on the chairs.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So you each are going to be sitting on a folding chair, and the banner is going to go on your folding chair.
Okay.
Okay. So bring tape, or Faith has hooks.
Wait, what?
Too. So you could bring, I'm sorry, you could bring like Scotch tape, or you can bring clear packaging tape. So you could tape the banner to the chair.
We need tape.
Okay, I'll put it in an email.
Yeah, we need to tape the banner to the chair.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
What did they say about the picture?
So I'm going to be creating a poster and bring a wallet-sized picture of your child to, I guess, at 9:30, and then your child can tape the picture to the poster, and the poster is going to be up in the church. So that way the parishioners can see who made their first communion, because we've been asking them to pray for the children who are making their first communion. We've done this every year, and I didn't want to overlook this year because of just, the circumstance that we're in. So, okay, I don't know if you've seen it before in previous years, but there's always been a poster with a cross on it, and then it says Jesus loves us. So we'll do the same thing this year, and it's just pictures of the children making their first communion.
How big is the picture?
A wallet-sized picture.
Wallet size.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions? And I'll put everything in an email. I'll remind you about the time to get there, and I'll also remind you about the setting up the chairs and also the picture, okay? All right, let's do an exit prayer. So we'll fold our hands, and this time we'll do a Hail Mary, okay? All right, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Good job practicing, and good job getting ready. And you're going to do a wonderful job on Saturday. And just remember, the purpose is to help bring you closer to God and to Jesus. Okay, that's why you're making your first communion, so you can get closer to Jesus. Okay, all right. If you have any questions between now and Saturday, please let me know, or let Faith know. Okay, all right. Have a good day, and we'll see you soon.
Can't wait. See you guys Saturday morning.
Happy Saturday.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
And she's doing her reconciliation tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the Father Daniel was great. We're going to meet with him after school tomorrow, and that'll be done.
Okay. All right, good. Full going for you.
Well, it's going. How's it with you guys?
Same.
Yeah. It's going. So we make do.
We're trying.
That's it. That's all we keep doing. All right, awesome. Thank you.
See you later. Bye. You're welcome.